Hello, I'm Dennis Galecki. Welcome to the 610th Imagine Greater Buffalo program since 2010. The first 600 Imagine programs were audio recorded at the downtown Buffalo and Erie County Public Library and are available at Internet Archive. The last 220 of the 600 Imagine programs are on the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library YouTube channel. Today's program is the 10th on our new Imagine Lifelong Learning YouTube channel. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art and Architecture, History, and Nature, or C-SAAHN as I like to pronounce the acronym, and by ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Our lifelong learning speaker today is Ann Conable. Ann is serving as the Buffalo Maritime Center Board President. Until 2025, Ann was the manager of community engagement at the downtown Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. The building of a replica of the Seneca Chief as a way of engaging and representing Buffalo in both 2025, last year, the 200th anniversary of the completion of the Erie Canal, and this year's commemoration of USA 250, has been the mission of the Buffalo Maritime Center by way of the journey of the Seneca Chief to the replica. So Ann, tell us about this last year's journey and also the future of the Seneca Chief to here in Buffalo.
Dennis, thank you so much for having me. This is a topic that I love talking about, so I'm delighted to have the opportunity. Last year, 2025, as the bicentennial year of the Erie Canal, was a spectacular thing, and I am so proud and honored that I got to be part of it. We at the Buffalo Maritime Center, we're fortunate that we have visionary founder John Montague, who many of our viewers may know or have met, who back in the late 1990s had a vision that really we should be paying attention to the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal. And that was the genesis of the idea of building the replica boat. Many people have heard the story of how the boat got built at the long shed down a canal side in public. It was the largest boat building project in the world in public. We had over 200 volunteers who helped us build the beautiful boat, which is 40 tons and 73 feet long. And so now our mission at the Buffalo Maritime Center is we have this wonderful asset in the boat, and it has always been intended to be a living, floating museum talking about the history of the canal, serving as an ambassador to the city of Buffalo anywhere that it goes, and helping people understand the importance not only locally, but statewide and also nationally of the Erie Canal in the history of this country. So it's one of those stories where we have no difficulty whatsoever justifying that the Seneca Chief should be an icon, certainly of the 200th year of the canal, but it also, because of its story, is an important piece of American history that people should be reminded of. I'd like to show a few slides just to review what we did last year. We first of all, we have a treasury of unbelievable photographs from last year's voyage, which was a 33-day voyage from Buffalo across the Erie Canal, turning south on the Hudson down to New York City. To say that this project was a series of miracles is to understate what actually happened. But we were able to do the journey with no difficulties whatsoever. Nobody fell overboard. You know, we didn't lose anybody. Nothing broke. We had 2 days of rain during the entire thing, and that was a really remarkable thing. One of our goals, obviously, was to bring additional visibility to the story of the canal, and nothing could do that better than this very photogenic boat. The boat is filled with a number of different exhibits, which people can see. And so one of the main things that we do is we move the boat around is we do tours open to the public for free to come in to learn about the boat and to see the work that went into the boat. We had an amazing impact last year across the state. It was a 500-mile journey. We saw more than 30,000 people in the 28 stops that we made down to New York City. We did something called the virtual voyage, which was live on Facebook with our education director talking about different topics related to the boat and to the voyage. And to the ecosystems of the Erie Canal. She was doing those every day. And so those are available on YouTube if people would like to see those. We connected with students every chance that we got, and we got a great deal of press last year for this effort. It was awfully exciting. And again, it was just amazing. As part of what we were doing on the voyage, we did a welcome ceremony in each port with local officials of various kinds. We gifted to each of the port communities a white pine tree, which was ceremonial planted in each of these port stops. We tried to involve children in those tree plantings as much as we could. And it was quite meaningful to do that. In each of the communities as we went along the canal. Another thing that we did was, I think a lot of people are familiar with the wetting of the waters that was done in 1825 as part of the original voyage of the Seneca chief. We did something we called the gathering of the waters, which was collecting a little scoop of canal water in each of the ports, putting it into a barrel, and then moving on to the next port. When we got to New York City, the last tree of the tree planting process was planted in New York City, right by the pier where the boat was in residence. And that barrel of water was ceremonially used to water that last tree in New York City. And I will talk in a second, when we talk about what we're doing in 2026, we're kind of doing the whole thing in reverse, just as Governor Clinton did in 1825. And here, these pictures are of our ceremonies in New York City with Governor Hochul, with indigenous representatives, with the great-great-grandson of DeWitt Clinton, our founder, John Montague, the head then of the Canal Corporation of New York State, Brian Stratton, and our executive director, Brian Trezak. But this year, we wanted to do something a little different. First of all, we're in a different time of year. Last year's voyage was started in the very end of September and took place throughout most of the month of October. Now we are doing this in June, very different situation. And we wanted to think about, before we started the voyage this year, because of the different timing, we wanted to think about how do we do this a little bit differently. Nothing is going to top what happened in 2025, but we've got to get this boat back to Buffalo. So the boat spent the winter in the mud in a lock in Waterford, New York, which is the Albany end of the canal. And so we devised that the trip back this year in 2026, as part of America 250, would have a heavy, heavy focus on students, youth, and children being part of this particular voyage. So we had a very strong education mandate that we undertook for 2026. To prepare for the 2026 voyage, we created a number of new materials which were distributed in advance to schools along the canal route that teachers could use to prepare kids to come and see the boat and be part of that experience. We also were going to do public tours of the boat in all of these ports. And as we did last year, as the boat was moving across the state, we had dockside demonstrations and interactive activities that people visiting the boat could do that would help them understand about maritime crafts and craftsmanship, about aspects of the history and about aspects of the environment of the canal. So we replicated a lot of what we did in 2025 for 2026, But of course, we're doing a much shorter voyage in the month of June with this heavy focus on kids and schools. So here's our timeline for 2026 of what we are doing. Right now, the boat is in Lyons, New York, which is just the far side of Rochester. They are hosting us as we make our way back to Buffalo. They are hosting us for a Juneteenth festival, which they are doing tomorrow in Lyons. And it's one of the sweetest little canal towns you're ever going to see in New York State. And they were extremely hospitable last year. And it was a real treat to be there to see that community embrace its canal history and its history in general. So we will be on the canal, continuing our way towards Buffalo on the Back to Buffalo tour. And we will be arriving back in Buffalo on June 27th. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. As I said, very important to us that we do a lot of immersive programming. This year we are doing 16 ports along the canal. Some of them are the same as last year, some of them are different. So that's been very interesting, and we've also been very grateful that these port towns where we are stopping with the boat have been very excited, very enthusiastic, very willing to embrace their own histories of being part of the canal, and who have welcomed us with open arms, with use of Airbnbs, with laundry facilities, with bathrooms, with dinners, with all kinds of things. It's really been totally lovely, and we are very, very grateful for that hospitality, which is continuing this year, as it occurred last year throughout. Here is our routing for this year. As I said, right now we are in Lyons, New York, so we're a little more than halfway, and we will be making the stops on the map between now and the 27th when we arrive back in Buffalo. What was important to us on this particular voyage, as I said, was the educational focus. We made a lot of connections on our journey last year with educators and with school superintendents. And so a number of these stops have very intensive connections to schools and students, even though it's the end of the school year. We're also meeting up with community groups, scout groups, homeschool groups. So we're really pushing this educational focus really hard this time. We created different materials so that we could be useful to not only the public, but also to educators as we came, prepared for the voyage and as we did the voyage, which is, of course, now underway. So we reached out extensively before we ever started this year's voyage to teachers and schools so that we could be connected with them as much as possible once we got to their town. There is no question in my mind that one of the things that was most gratifying last year during the bicentennial of the canal was that people were so excited about the canal boat and the fact that in many cases it was coming to their community. But it also became a kind of ambassador's role that we felt we were having across the state for Buffalo, for Western New York, and for the history of the canal. And we were acknowledged as such, and that was pretty exciting. So it became a kind of an iconic experience to be part of the boat as it went along the state, and particularly when we got to New York. I've included some pictures here. This is the kind of things that are happening this year on the voyage. These were just taken in the last couple days as we make our way westward towards Buffalo. We are meeting with large groups and small groups of students of all sorts. They are getting a complete immersive tour of the boat. They have the opportunity to do the immersive activities that we provide and get their questions answered about the boat and what it's like for the crew on the voyage, what it's like for them to live on the boat. Our crew is primarily the staff of the Buffalo Maritime Center, supplemented by a number of very experienced crew volunteers. Most of those people are actually living on the boat as the boat makes its way across the state. So that's been quite an experience just all on its own, which has been really pretty fun to see. So we had a lot of help from a lot of partners last year as we were doing this gigantic voyage. We are very grateful to those sponsors and supporters, individuals, companies. M&T Bank was our major naming sponsor last year and came back again this year to help us with the educational voyage we are doing. Very grateful to them. The New York State Canal Corporation, the Erie Canalway Heritage Corridor, NISCA, and a number of other individuals and companies are helping us do this because, of course, this sort of thing does cost money. And we have been very nicely supported in a lot of ways to make this happen, which we are extremely grateful for. And Dennis, I'm next going to take down my slides.
Good.
And I would like to show a short video that has a song with it. Let me tell you a little bit about the story of the video. We have been surrounded by a lot of very creative, wonderful people who were part of our family, so to speak, as part of this voyage. And
I don't see it, by the way, Ann. Is there something I'm supposed to be seeing?
no, there, I'm pulling
There it
it up.
is. Okay.
Hold on just a minute. There we go. Okay. That is the beginning of the video. So are you seeing that?
Yes, yes. Good.
Great. Okay. This is just a couple minutes long. It's a whole lot of our pictures that we took throughout the voyage. This basically has encapsulated what last year's voyage was really about. Every time I watch this video, I get a little teary because I'm just so proud of what we were able to do. But someone along the line was able to put together for us an original song. And that's the audio you're going to hear that comes on a couple of seconds into the video. But it covers the entire voyage, and the song just captures the whole spirit of the thing. So we'll just run that, okay?
On an old boat heading down the canal, surrounded by strangers who all know about. History's calling and we answered the phone. We travel down rivers, never feeling alone. Oh, the Seneca chief has been home to me, needing friends along for this journey. When history ran, answered the call. We journeyed from Buffalo to New York in the fall. Life's great adventure, this one had to be the trip of a lifetime, from the lakes to the sea. Buffalo, Sylvan Beach, and of course Little Falls, sailing through history with these wonderful port calls. We stopped in Herkimer, known for quartz, and had a few quarts for the crew of the libation swords. Utica and Rome, we hardly knew, yay, but with full hearts we came to see Canada, Joe, Harry, Amsterdam, then Schenectady's next with the harbor meeting us. Grateful to the many who came greeting us. Oh, the Seneca chief has been known to be needing friends along for this journey. When history ran to the call, we journeyed from Buffalo to New York in the fall. And life's great adventure, this one had to be the trip of a lifetime, from the lakes to the sea. Waterford comes and we all gather round as we're welcomed by so many in this lovely town. Troy is a-coming and we will soon be there. Then unto Albany, the capital we share. Hudson and Kingston should both be great. The chief will be in New York City on history's date. Oh, the Seneca chief has been home to me, meeting friends along for this journey. When history took the call, we journeyed from Buffalo to New York in the fall. And life's great adventure this one had to be the trip of a lifetime, from the lakes to the sea.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
You should, and
It's just been such a fun video to share with people, and it really captures the spirit of the whole thing. And I just love the song. So I get teary about it every time. It's just great.
and I'm pleased that the artist, I'm sure, donated it to your group to use
Yes.
for such purpose as this.
Absolutely. And that was a blessing along with so many other ones.
All right. Well, and how much of this were you part of the actual trip from time to time? Did you go from here to Tonawanda, or go much further?
Well, I suppose as the president, I could have thrown my weight around and said, I want this and I want that, but I didn't do that. What I really wanted was I wanted to be on the last leg from Ossining to New York City. And I was able to do that. And it was so amazing to do that. And I'm so glad that I did. Most of the time when the voyage was going on, I was here sort of holding the fort and making sure the phone got answered at the office and, check the mail and that sort of stuff, because that needed to be done also. But the last leg was just remarkable because, first of all, the Hudson is known to not be an easy thing for a boat. It can have tides and waves and all kinds of stuff. But the day that we did that trip, which was approximately a 7.5 hour trip from Ossining to New York City, the Hudson was smooth.
Yeah.
We, along the way, little boat clubs and crew boats and that sort of thing came out from boat clubs and met us. And we're out in the middle of the river and there's all these little boats around us and they're yelling and waving and talking to us and asking questions. And it was lovely. It was like we were being welcomed. And then, we had to our so-called pier parking place where the Seneca chief was going to be in New York was almost all the way at the bottom of the island of Manhattan. So for me, I used to live in New York for a while, and so I know New York pretty well. But to see New York City from the vantage point of out in the middle of the Hudson was just remarkable. You really focus in on the architecture. And the interesting thing is you're out in the middle of the river and you can't hear the traffic and the city is full of people and cars and vehicles and noise and it's completely silent. And so I ended up kind of playing tour guide because a number of the people that were on that leg of the boat were not so familiar with New York. So I'm saying there's this and there's that and pointing things out along the way. But it was a whole different way of seeing New York City. It was absolutely beautiful. And when we got down to Pier 26, which is where the boat was going to be tied up, that was actually the roughest part of the whole trip. And we were met at the dock by like 300 people yelling and screaming. It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. So we felt very welcomed. And then the next day we had the ceremonies with the governor and the tree planting and all of that. It was just amazing. I was just so proud of everybody, and we had accomplished our goals.
And your goal was obviously, and is still being accomplished with this educational mission. How did the nation report on this? Was there coverage at all that went beyond our New York State borders? What's your understanding of,
Yeah,
of, of awareness?
we were very fortunate that, first of all, the New York Times did a big article about it.
Mhm.
So we had that kind of coverage. And also CNN picked us up. And so the fact that we were doing this really did resonate, at least to that extent. And we had over 150 other pieces, both television, radio, and newspapers across New York State that picked up the story as we went along. So we really did get pretty good press coverage, I would say. We had set up a lot of that in advance as much as we could. But then once we got there, it was like everybody was suddenly like, wow, this is cool. So we did get some very nice coverage for it, which was great.
How about the Maritime Center itself? Does this become one of Buffalo's premier cultural agencies and entities for people to physically go? Or is it for the exclusive folks that get to build boats and are aware of it, but it's not really for the general public to be aware of? What's your plans?
Well, the Buffalo Maritime Center, first of all, is a fairly young nonprofit organization. Our headquarters is a wonderful workshop over on Arthur Street in the Riverside section of the city.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know that we're there. We, of course, had premier exposure during the 4 years that we were building the Seneca Chief in public in the Longshed. That could not have been more perfect in terms of visibility for
Mhm.
us and for that project. So we are very, very grateful to the state of New York, which of course owns that building, and to ECHDC, which allowed us to do the project inside. So that was a huge opportunity for us. And I think a lot of people had not heard of us before that, but they remember that they came and saw the boat being built. And we hear about that all the time from people all across the state who, one way or the other, were in Buffalo and saw us building the boat. Um, we are we are sort of a multifaceted mission. Yes, we do build boats. We build historic boats that are part of the story of Buffalo and Western New York. But our our mission really is about helping to get the public to understand that Buffalo really has always been a waterfront city, and that there are a lot of ways to take advantage of Buffalo's proximity to the river, to the lake, and to be part of a boating culture that we're pushing hard on helping to reestablish. So when we're not doing a voyage like this with the Seneca Chief, a lot of the things that we do have to do with public programs, some of which now we have been doing down at Canal Side, and we will be doing a series of programs down at Canal Side throughout this summer and into the fall. So keep an eye out for notice of those programs. Some of them are music, some of them are lectures, some of them are dockside demonstrations where a demonstrator is showing how a particular maritime craft is done, and people can try it or try tools for themselves. We will be doing public tours once the boat comes into Buffalo. And I should say, the Seneca Chief is going to make its way back to Buffalo. It will be arriving on Saturday, June 27th. The boat is going to show up out in the lake, coming down from Tonawanda, and we just got word yesterday that the fireboat Cotter will help bring us in to the commercial slip, which is where our permanent home is going to be. We will be bagpiping the boat into the commercial slip. We will have some canal music, and then at 1 o'clock on June 27th, we will be doing welcoming ceremonies with local dignitaries and others to welcome the boat back to Buffalo. And we're very excited to be in residence at Canal Side. We'll be joining all of the surrounding neighbors like Explore and More and the Carousel and the Naval Park as the newest attraction down at Canal Side. And so we're looking forward to a very busy and very exciting summer where people in Buffalo and Western New York really can get a good look at the Seneca Chief and can learn about her and be part of that story. The boat will be open for tours at Canal Side Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Anybody who is interested in this or in the programs that we will do there should be checking our website periodically. We are continuing to put things on it even as we speak. And our website is buffalomaritimes.org. So keep an eye out for a lot of things that are going to be happening there after June 27th and all the way through the summer into October.
Well, that gets you through this year. My question is, does this become a permanent summertime exhibit at Canal Side? Since that's its high volume time, obviously, is our summers and early fall, late spring. Does it become a permanent fixture, or are the plans not in place yet for what happens after this year?
This is all pretty new to us, I have to say, although we've got, last year's experience under our belt and we now are getting new experience in a kind of a different way this year. We're planning kind of a year at a time, but we've got this wonderful asset, the Seneca Chief, and it is meant to be a living, moving museum about the canal. So we are already in discussion about what happens after we get back this year, and what do we want to try to do to share it with more people. We are discussing things like we could go to Erie, Pennsylvania. We could go back on the canal. We could go to Lake Champlain. There's all kinds of places that we could go with the boat that would expose the whole situation to more people. So stay tuned. I mean, it's a big endeavor, but this is a very important asset to us, and we want to, make good advantage of having it to work with and being able to reach lots of people, especially young people. So stay tuned. There will be a plan every year for what the Seneca Chief is going to be doing and where it will be.
With you involved, I'm sure it will be exciting and it will happen, whatever it's meant to be in. One last point, I'm trying to engage with schools, always interested in that. Did you find certain age groups were most appropriate for the building of it, as well as the involvement or the curiosity? What age groups did you focus on, or did you find were most interested?
Okay. We, of course, were working with New York State Education Department so that we would be well within curriculum guidelines. And of course, in New York State history is mostly focusing on fourth graders. So I would say they were our top priority. But New York State history is also dealt with, I believe, in 7th grade and also 11th grade. So fourth graders was really our prime target. And we have cast everything, largely that direction. Of course, we are able, as different groups come to visit the boat, we are able to adjust to age levels and interests. And so we are flexible in that way. It's been really fun to see the kids get excited about this.
Well, when I created the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, it's a digital enterprise designed to help link volunteers and lifelong learning communities as part of the Buffalo-Chautauqua idea. And boy, you've linked a lot of volunteers, the lifelong learning aspect of both, like, let's say, fourth graders and their parents. They didn't walk over there; they got driven over there to the Long Shed or your center, and you say, what a great project to accomplish that weaving together of the community, not just focusing on only kids, only adults, but putting them both together. And that, my hats off to you for and Brian and all the folks that had this vision, Mr. Montague especially, who received, as your organization did, our simple Imagine Greater Buffalo Recognition Award last year for the efforts that that you had done here with this building of the boat and then making it happen successfully. Not just making it happen, but successfully. You've got to feel like, it's our Super Bowl win in maritime history, which is really the last point. For years, I would hear people say nobody cares about history anymore. And I think Buffalo, through efforts like this and its own rich connection with history, going back to Fort Niagara that we'll be celebrating here now and for a bit, as right up to current events, integrating history with the present and frankly, the future. So that seems to be what you're doing and about. And I commend the mission and the center for its efforts and your efforts at leadership. So that'll wrap it up. I thank you so much, Ann, for the storytelling here. It's a great story, and you make me proud just to be associated with it by way of yourself.
Well, thank you, Dennis. I appreciate the opportunity to share the story a little further. Anybody who's interested in our activities this summer and beyond, do check our website, buffalomaritimes.org. We do a lot more than just the Seneca Chiefs, so check it out.
Great. Well, folks, thanks for watching this Imagine Greater Buffalo program on the fairly new Imagine Lifelong Learning channel. Remember, today's program can also be found as an audio podcast, along with over 1,500 other Imagine Lifelong Learning programs. Simply go to Internet Archive and search for C-SAAHN. Now that's C-SAAHN. I pronounce it C-SAAHN. But put that in the search at Internet Archive, and over 1,500 recordings from Buffalo and Chautauqua will appear. All right. I'm Dennis Galecki. Be well and good day.